Aloha, my name is Athena Rose, and thank you so much for tuning in today on this beautiful late summer day. I'm out here at Immigrant Lake in Southern Oregon, and I'm spending time amongst the oak trees and listening to my body and soaking up some sun. And I'd like to continue my conversation and sharing about struggling with self-worth and eating disorders, and feeling insecure, feeling insecure in my body. And this is an important topic, I think, because all of us are insecure and have insecurities. Even if people are outwardly more confident than others, we all have insecurities that we struggle with. And that's what part of being human is. It's understanding that we have insecurities and being compassionate first and foremost with ourselves for that, and also with others. When we see others struggling with behaviors, it could be addictions or bad habits, it could be neuroses, anxiety, depression, struggling with maintaining themselves, struggling with taking care of themselves. There are many adults that struggle very much with taking care of themselves, financially and emotionally, spiritually, physically. And I believe this is because we didn't have parents who had the capacity or the time, many times, to teach us how to take good care of ourselves. And maybe they felt like that would happen naturally for a child as they grow, as they mature. But the truth of the matter is we need people to teach us how to take care of our mental health, how to take care of our physical health, how to take care of our emotional health. And all of these aspects are important to have teachers in our life that have the capacity to teach us and have wisdom and have a desire to really teach us how to live in a good way, in right relationship with ourselves and with the earth. And so I remember sharing in my other video that I've had a lifelong struggle with eating disorders, and that started when I was around age 14, right around the age of puberty, and just coming into womanhood and starting my period and my body changing and having hormones kind of active and present in my body, and my identity, my identity was shifting around being a child, no longer being a child, and what it meant to grow up, and what it meant to be, in particular, a woman in a female body, and to navigate all that and the expectations put on me. I was kind of left in the dark. I feel like there was some mild education around the practicality of menstruation, but no spiritual teachings around what that meant. No rite of passage, no initiation process. I remember I first started bleeding in middle school, at school actually, and it really caught me off guard, and I had to ask some friends for a pad or something to make sure I didn't bleed everywhere. And I really should have just gone home, but I didn't feel that was going to be allowed, and I was afraid to talk about it. I went to a Christian private school, and many of my teachers, the principal was a male. It was very male-centered, and I didn't feel comfortable telling anybody what had happened, and talking to anybody about what that was like for me. And so it was hard. It was really hard. I remember sharing that with my friends, but they didn't have the capacity to talk to me about it or what it was like for them, and some of them had not started bleeding yet, and some of them had, but really mostly it was this idea that it was inconvenient, that it was gross, that it was something that should be kept hidden and secret, and it was shameful. It was shameful, and so I started to become feel ashamed about my body. You know, what is my body doing? And it's doing this thing that I perceive from other people as being not okay, as being gross and dirty, and something I need to hide and not talk about and keep to myself, like a secret that was happening. And I remember every month thereafter when I would bleed, you know, I'd use a tampon or something, and I'd stuff it, I'd hide it away, I'd hide my wound blood away, and I wouldn't talk about it. And even amongst my sister and my mother, we didn't talk about it. And my mother might ask me, are you on your period or something like that? But really there's a lot of cultural shame, because I've heard people say, you know, boys in particular, like tease their friends, oh, you're acting like you're on your period, and things like that. Like there's something wrong with that, you know? It's really still so culturally ingrained in our society that women who are menstruating or about to menstruate are somehow not attractive, unworthy, not valuable, a nuisance, you know, inconvenient. Yeah, just not good connotations associated with the sacredness of bleeding and the womb releasing its sacred blood that gives life to other human beings. That's where we all came from. We all came from this lifeblood, this sacred womb blood. It's absolutely the most magical process, and it's so beautiful, and I've come to appreciate it, thankfully, during my adult life within recent years, because I've gravitated towards women who appreciate that aspect of their being and celebrate it as a sacred time. And this has happened in history as well previously. It's just been recent society that has made it be made it into something that's not talked about, that's shamed, that's ugly and gross. And in past traditions, you know, there were moon lodges where women would go and they would congregate when they were bleeding, and they would sit in circle, and they would talk, and they would sing, and they would make food together, and they would create, express themselves, because it's a very creative time in a woman's cycle. When she's bleeding, it's that creative force coming through the womb. You know, it would be a time of birthing if the woman was pregnant. And so, yeah, it's such a beautiful time, and we've lost touch with that history of women bleeding together and cycling together, and spending time together and sharing together in communion. And yeah, it's a very precious, sacred, very precious, sacred time in a woman's cycle. And I really appreciate that in the times that I've bled, and I've been able to be with sisters. And I've started women's circles where women come together and celebrate themselves and celebrate their wombs and their bleeding, and celebrate life, you know, really celebrate life and the sacred waters within. So that was the beginning. That was definitely the beginning of my eating disorder. And I really wanted to speak to that today, because I feel it's important to bring attention to it, that there's still so much bias and stigma and shame that we're projecting on these young women who are coming into puberty, and it can manifest into an eating disorder. I had many other things going on from childhood that is attributed to the eating disorder, that are attributed to my anxiety and my view of food and my body. But that was definitely a pivotal time for me, and it's important for me to understand that. And I believe that it's probably a pivotal time for many young women, and it can develop into some sort of imbalance with themselves ultimately, and that can manifest as an imbalance and a neurosis around food and food consumption, maybe not eating enough or maybe eating too much, and yeah, just not respecting their bodies and not listening to their bodies, because they haven't been taught how to listen to their wombs. They haven't been taught how to pay attention to their bodies and the cyclical nature of their body. And I believe that this is rebirthing itself in our collective consciousness, and it's coming back around, and women are starting to wake up and remember and sit in moon lodges and share in these medicines. And celebrate their bodies, celebrate their womb, celebrate life, celebrate their moon blood, and commune with it in a totally different way, you know. And so we're coming back around. I'm so grateful, but I that was on my heart, and I didn't even know it until I really started speaking to it, that was a pivotal moment for me. But I'd like to hear from other sisters who may have experienced something similar in their life and are healing from that. And yeah, I'd love to provide more education. I offer women's sovereignty counseling. That's something that's very much on my heart, and continue to hold circles. I hold circles in Hawaii when I can, and I've done so in Oregon as well for the last 6 years. And really, I prefer to work one-on-one with women right now, and I think it's really important to help guide women towards their womb connection and getting back in touch with their bodies and listening to their bodies and listening to their rhythms and celebrating those and not pushing them away or rejecting themselves, you know. And so that creates an insecurity, such as that I was speaking of previously, that's very present in many women. And all I can speak from is a woman's perspective, because I am a woman and I'm in I have a womb, you know. So yeah, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to connect with you, sisters. Thank you so much for tuning in. May this message find you well, and may you feel really blessed, and may you have a beautiful autumn equinox. And yeah, just allow those layers to shed, right? Those layers of conditioning that we've been subjected to over our lifetime. The fall is a beautiful time to do a lot of introspection and begin to shed those layers, and to purify and to cleanse and to come back to wholeness, you know. And the winter is a time to like go internal and really reflect and take care of oneself and nurture oneself. So I encourage you to do that. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. So please feel free to reach out. I'll put my contact information in the description, and I'm available to speak over the phone, via Zoom, or in person if you're located near me. And yeah, bless you, bless the womb. Aloha.